Hello, everyone. It's great to have you join me tonight. It's another time with the enthusiastic tutor, and I apologize for coming in late. You know, we're working on a lot of things, and we're trying to manage everything at the same time, and it's just one person. So please permit me. So sorry. So without further ado, let's just hop straight into it. Take on the course, Pol126, and today we are going to be talking about the social contract theory. So with this being said, let's hop straight into it. Now we have Miss Regina. It's great to have you join us tonight. Just the day went well as a whole. 126. And we are taking social contract theory. Social contract when we talk about social contract theory, what are we referring to? Very quickly, now the origin of the social contract is premised, meaning it's based on an agreement entry. Social, let me get my other markers. Right. Social contract. It is on the premise of an agreement. It is on the premise of an agreement. Of an agreement entered into by men, expectedly women, who originally had no governmental organization. No governmental. Now, this contract is said to be when men and women expectedly come into an agreement in a state where there is no governmental organization. Agreement by men. The way we say men now, we are generically, not just man alone, generically. By men, agreements by men or agreement entered. There is an agreement, there's an entrance. Agreement entered by men and also expectedly women as well, whereby now this premise is based on the agreement entered by men and expectedly women. Now, in an organization, when we say organization, now we are talking about the coexistence of people. Now, we are talking about the group of people dwelling in a particular place, not organization in the sense of a formal organization. Now, whereby on the premise of an agreement whereby men and women, or men and expectedly women, come into an agreement in an organization, an organization where originally no governmental organization. Yes. So now the key point is there's an agreement by a group of people. And why are they coming to this agreement? Because there is lack. There's a lack. There's a vacuum they want to fill. So now, don't forget the word here is social, and the word here is contract. Now, social has to do with the coming together, the coexistence, the living together, the coexistence, the communication existing between varieties of people. Yeah, you understand? Varieties of people, different languages and different background, coming into an agreement. Now, this is the agreement, which is the contract. Agreement is the contract. And why are they coming into this? Why are this group of people coming into this agreement? Because they lack of governmental organization. There is a lack, and there is a vacuum that needs to be filled. The vacuum of governmental organization. Governmental organization. That is the vacuum that needs to be filled. Okay, we have about 10 persons on the stream, and we had just two likes. If you don't know how we do it here, if you are joining the class, you smash the like button. It's highly essential. You smash the like button. And if you are here to let us know where you are streaming from, or just to identify people on the stream, it's also important for you to maybe wave your hand or say good evening or something. But I have just Miss Regina, not Bed of Roses, on the chats. So do well to say something on the comment section, maybe a hello or good evening, so we can recognize you, acknowledge your presence. Okay, we have 3 likes. Awesome. Yes, thank you very much for that. So we have social contract theory explained. I believe we understand the social, the contract, and the governmental organization. Now let's move on. Now, in this organization, just a moment. Now, in this social contract theory, now there's something we call contractual agreements, which I've emphasized. It's all about contractual agreements, whereby both parties looks into what we call political treaties, and okay, so there's a contractual agreement. There's a contractual agreement. That's what makes up the social contract. There's a contractual agreement. Now, let's look at theories propounded by great minds. Theory propounded by great philosophers about social contracts. Now, let's take a look at the very first theory, is that of Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes theory. Let's take a look at Thomas Hobbes theory, which is 1588 to 1679. 1679. 1588 to 1679. Now, according to Hobbes, his analogy was referred to as the Hobbesian analogy. Hobbesian analogy. According to him, it was referred to as the Hobbesian or Hobbesian analogy. Now, it says that. Now, before we talk about his analogy or his theory, now let's just do a little bit about Hobbes himself. Now, Hobbes was an Englishman who lived in the days of Civil War. An Englishman he lived in the days of Civil War. Hobbes was an Englishman who lived in the days of Civil War. Okay? Now, and this Civil War, we have 1642 to 1651. Alright. Now, Hobbes was an Englishman who lived in the days of Civil War. Now, Hobbes' analysis gave a serious insight. Hobbes' analysis gave a comprehensive insight about this social contract using what we call the natural state of man. Natural state of man. Now, Hobbes uses this natural state of man to explain what he feels or what he sees or what he thinks about social contract theory. Now, what is the natural state of man? We are heading somewhere. Now, it says that this era is inclined. This era of natural state is inclined to absolutism. Inclined to absolutism. Absolutism. Now, Hobbes says the natural state of man is inclined to absolutism. I want to talk about absolutism, like giving in on one particular thing, that this is how it should be done. Anything apart from this is seen as a crime or going against rules. Now, it says this state is inclined to absolutism. Now, it is said to be now, and this is the time, it says, in this era of natural state of man, it says the most important need of any country or community then, it says, according to him, he said, even during this time, the most important need of a social gathering or a country or a community is governance. And he said governance was sovereign. We are still going to talk more about this, just let's hang on. Now he says, governance, natural need of governance. Of governance. One, and it says, which is to maintain law and order. To maintain law and order. Okay, natural need of governance to maintain law and order. And it says governance is sovereign. Governance is okay, sorry, I beg your pardon. Is sovereign. That's a okay. Yes. Hobbes says governance is sovereign. Now, this state of nature is said to be a time of war, whereby it is the survival of the fittest. It is said to be a time of solidarity. It's said to be a time of nasty, brutish, and short lifespan of men. It's said to be solitary. Okay. Okay, let me just write it somewhere else. Now, said to be a time of, it referred to it as which is war. Said it's time whereby it was solitary. It was solitary, it was nasty, it was short. You know, solitary was nasty, it was short, it was a time of poverty. Poor. Natural need. Or the natural state. I mean, not need, state. State. Alright. So we have that as that. Or we have someone that also spoke about the human nature. Although he spoke human nature, not the natural state. And this person happens to be the Leviathan in 1651. Now, Leviathan. Okay, it's Leviathan. Okay, Leviathan in 1651. Leviathan in 1651 says that human nature is in the concept of man as being essentially selfish. Man has been essentially selfish to action not by intellect or reason, but by appetite, desire, and passion. This is a time whereby you can do anything you like based on your appetite. If you just feel that, okay, this morning I just want to kill, you kill. Nobody will hold you to ransom. So far you can overpower your enemy or so far you can overpower your oppressions, you can overpower your contenders. You have the liberty to do anything. So this time says, man, nature of man, it's basically about talking about the nature of man as being selfish. Man being selfish and is led not by intellect. Led not by intellect. Led not by intellect, but by passion, appetite. By passion, by his appetites or desires. Appetites. / desires. Appetites and desires. So these are the things that led man. And if if he does anything based on any of these things, nobody can hold him responsible. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed. Now, Hobbes also recognized that even in the primitive nature of states, some sense laws of nature whose essence is self-preservation. Now, the liberty of each man had to preserve his own life. Even at the fact that it was brutish, it was short, it was war, at that point, there's still a little bit of what Hobbes call um, self-preservation. There was a bit of self-preservation. Self-preservation. Whereby man preserve his own life. Preserve his own life, according to him. So we have that as that. So as this might seem, according to Hobbes, he still receives some critics. Critics, just about two critics. The critic his theory was criticized. Critics. His theory was criticized. His theory was criticized just to say that now the first one says it's unhistorical and savage to saint. Unhistorical and savage to saint. Now the bottom line of the Hobbes theory is that Hobbes theory of social contract is that Hobbes painted a picture of the natural state of man. Man is said to be brutish. It's a time of war, whereby man life is very short, based on the fact that sudden death here and there and everything like that. And considering the fact that what Leviathan said in 1651, that in this state man is selfish and is led not by intellect but by his passion, appetite, and desire. So this is a state whereby the theory is talking about the fact of absolutism, whereby you can do what you like and you can't be held responsible because of there was a vacuum that needs to be filled. And if this is not filled, there can't be what we refer to as, where did we take it, law and order, maintenance of law and order. Okay, and governance is surveying to maintain law and order. So because of this was missing, so do anything you like, nobody can hold you responsible. So it got to a point whereby men have given up their rights so that this can exist, governance, so that even as much as the man was brutish then, they still have this natural sense of self-preservation, whereby a man has to preserve his own life. So with time, they just had to. It says here that over time, after all this war and everything, so men started to come back to their senses and begin to give up their rights, so they can have what we call governmental organization, whereby there can be law and order. So that's just the whole thing that's just everything Tom Hobbes is talking about with under the social contract. Now let's move to the next thing. So I'm just going to erase this. Okay. Now, let's proceed. So we have John Locke. His own theory. John Locke. We have John Locke. John Locke in 1632 to 1704. Now, what does John Locke have to say about social contract theory? Now, according to John Locke, he says that in the state of nature, man was free and equal because each lives according to his own liking, even though this is freedom. Now, there was a natural law or law of reason which commands that no one shall impair the life, the health and freedom or the possession of another. Now, let's take this down. We have one, we have two. Freedom, the natural state of man, says freedom and equality. Freedom and equality. Now we have, secondly, it says it was a natural law whereby don't impede on others. Mean that whatever it is you are doing should not by any chance affect the health or the freedom or the possession of another, according to John Locke. Now, unlike Hobbes, it says power resides with the community, not with the governance. Unlike Hobbes says power resides with the community, not governance, not the government. Okay, it says power resides with the community, not the government. All right. So John Locke was precise, and he was straight to the point, and all his emphasis was based on the fact that even in this natural state of man, there is freedom and there's equality, and also there's a natural law that says you should not impede on the rights of others or anything that can affect their health or their possession, freedom or possession. So unlike Hobbes, he said power resides with the community and not the government. So that is for Locke. Okay. Okay, now let's just take this down. Under John Locke still, according to T.H. Greens. T.H. Green says that the nature of man demands certain rights. Nature of man demands certain rights. The nature of man derives certain rights or some conditions of life or some conditions of life, meaning that as a man, as human, you require certain rights. Talking about certain rights, right to freedom, right to equality, I beg your pardon, and some certain conditions whereby you have your freedom, you have the right to make your own decisions and your own choices. So that is what TH brings natural, nature of the nature of man, the nature of man. So we have that as that. Now let's proceed to that of very quickly before we call it a wrap. Okay. Now let's talk about the Marxist theory. Marxist, before we call it a wrap, let's talk about the Marx. Okay, the Marxist. It's a Mar, then cyst. Let's talk about the Marxist. The Marxist. The Marxist theory. Now, this theory is of the opinion Now, this Marxist theory is credited to Karl Marx. Karl Marx. So, now, Karl Marx says that the state is essentially a cohesive. When we say we have cohesive, we have cohesive. Now, let me explain that. This is cohesive, cohesive. Now this is cohesion, and we have cohesive. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Now, this is when you say everything is in line. When everything is in line, meaning that you are talking or everything like there's resemblance, joint resemblance in line. But this one talks about force. This is cohesion. This is cohesive. Now, cohesion means everything is in line. Probably you are saying something and you are not saying things that are just antagonizing each other. Everything you are saying is in line, it's flowing, there are resemblance, and there's continuity. But this is cohesive. It has to do with force. So it's said to be. Now it says the states. Now it says the state is essentially a cohesive apparatus. State is said to be a cohesive apparatus. Yes. Which is usually in the service of ruling class in a divided society, and it is a product and manifestation of irreconcilable class antagonizing in society. Now, let's forget about these big grammars. Now, this theory is basically about the fact that the state is a cohesive apparatus, meaning that the state is divided into two. We have the upper class and we have the lower class. Now, let's put that down. Where we have cohesive apparatus usually in the service of the ruling class. There's a ruling class in the society. In the ruling class. A state is usually, that means this ruling class is the one, they are the set of people that determines what happens in a state. Are we together? Ruling class in a class divided society. Mean that there are sets of class. In a class divided, a class divided society. So we have that as that, and it said here it is a manifestation of irreconcilable class antagonism. Irreconcilable class antagonism. Irreconcilable a product of irreconcilable class antagonism. Meaning that you cannot settle the fact that there will always be clashes between these classes, because there's a ruling class. It's just like having the majority and the minority. Okay, that is that under the, as that for that under the social contract theory of Karl Marx. So we have that as that. Thank you very much, everyone. That'll be all for tonight. Miss Regina, I did not get your notes yesterday. Please do well to submit your notes. Do well to submit our notes in our respective classes. It is very essential. Let's do well to submit notes. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope we've been able to get a thing or two from tonight's class. Let's do well to update our notes and follow up with classes. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in software tutorials. Bye bye.